Politics nowadays takes many innocent lives throughout the world. I do not support any kind of violent protests, especially protests from national characters such as the ones in Hong Kong. Even if there should be a protest, there can be a peaceful one. It's certainly very important to prevent domestic terrorism and foreign interference. In my country, there was an attempt to interfere into our internal politics. I know how it feels, and I can tell it's not good at all. Until now, the Chinese people were friendly towards us. The People's Republic of China has helped a lot to my country, taking in account that Macedonia has a poor infrastructure and weak economy. The BRI can help a lot in those sectors. I think that we would rather stay neutral because we have very good relations with both sides, with China and the US. Name dispute with Greece was solved with the Prespa agreement back in 2018, and we officially became, as you know, the Republic of North Macedonia. Greece was never an enemy of our country. Even nowadays, I have many Greek friends that I have contact with. I consider this a deed or a game of politics.
Zdravo Nasita, it's Keith Rose. Welcome to a new episode of Soft Talk, where unlike BBC's Hard Talk, the interviewees won't find it hard to talk. So today, we're very pleased to have a guest from North Macedonia. She is Isabella. Before we start, please remember to subscribe to our channel by pressing the red button below, like the video by giving a thumbs up, and also share the video with your friends and family members. So Isabella, do you mind introducing yourself to our audience? And also, I heard that you know many languages. Do you mind talking about what languages you know as well?
I'd like to thank you for having me today. I come from Prilep, North Macedonia. Currently, I'm a student at the Department of English Language and Literature at the State University in Skopje. Apart from the English language, I'm also fluent in German, French, Spanish, Italian, Serbo-Croatian, which is similar to Macedonian, and Turkish.
Actually, I've been to North Macedonia myself, been to the capital of Skopje, the city of Bitola, and also Ohrid. I mean, it's just a beautiful place with the lake and all the churches. Without further ado, let's begin with the first question. So what is your view on the Hong Kong protests last year?
Well, first of all, as many other people throughout the world, I do not support any kind of violent protests, especially protests from national characters such as the ones in Hong Kong. I can understand the people in Hong Kong because they want to express how they feel about the decision that was brought back then, and I can totally agree with their opinion. What I do not agree with is the violence in the protests. As we all know, politics nowadays takes many innocent lives throughout the world. North Macedonia is not an exclusion as well. I believe that protests can be solved via some kind of petition or for and against referendum, but no way with violence. Here, obviously, the political, cultural, and economic differences are playing a key role. And I've heard as well about the unfortunate death cases which resulted from the protests in Hong Kong. And I think that extreme violence is not justified. Even if there should be a protest, there can be a peaceful one.
So how did the media back in North Macedonia report on the protests? And how did the people in your country in general view the protests?
I must admit that the media here in North Macedonia reported very briefly about the Hong Kong protests, but same as me, my people do not support any kind of violence. Although we had the two kinds, we had violent and peaceful ones.
So North Macedonia has officially stayed neutral on the Hong Kong National Security Law, which has just been recently implemented. So what is your view on the law?
According to me, I think that no one from outside should interfere into the domestic internal politics of a certain country. And what's to the national security law, I consider that it would be better to leave the people living on that territory to express themselves what they really want from the politicians. And it's certainly very important to prevent domestic terrorism and foreign interference, because if not, the other way it will result with a civil war, perhaps.
I also agree that to prevent having a civil war, we need to have a balance between both sides. Like, we want people to express their opinions freely, but at the same time, it doesn't endanger elements such as national security as well as life of innocent civilians. Right, so let's turn to another topic now. Previously, North Macedonia was officially known as the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia on the UN, due to a historical naming dispute with Greece, even though the government has actually recognized it as the Republic of Macedonia. However, following the Prespa Agreement back in 2018, the dispute has now been resolved, and your country is obviously now named North Macedonia, as most of you might have known. So what do people in your country think about this controversial name change? And how do they also see Greece? Is Greece still like your enemy in some ways?
Good one. Name dispute with Greece was solved with the Prespa Agreement back in 2018, and we officially became, as you know, the Republic of North Macedonia. This situation can be regarded from the two sides of the coin, because the people in my country have a divided attitude and divided way of thinking about that. So some are against and some are for it. Greece was never an enemy of our country. Even nowadays, I have many Greek friends that I have contact with. I consider this a deed or a game of politics.
Have people in your country accepted the deal? Are there still movements urging your government to rename it back to like the Republic of Macedonia?
Nationalists, they're certainly not good with the issue about the name, and they're having a problem with that. Although officially on every document, everywhere it's written now North Macedonia, and we're recognized as such.
So North Macedonia enjoys a pretty positive relationship with China compared to other Western countries. It is part of China's Belt and Road Initiative, and also China's 17+1 economic project, which is for Central and Eastern European countries. North Macedonia also continues to use Huawei Telecom, even though most Western countries have actually banned, or in some ways were reluctant to use the telecom. I actually remember, I've been to North Macedonia myself, that there was a massive Huawei advertising sign right in the center of Skopje. What is your view on the North Macedonia-China relations at the moment? Do you think the BRI can actually help your country? And also, do you think Huawei to continue to exist in your country and do business?
My point of view on the North Macedonia and China relations are positive, because until now the Chinese people were friendly towards us, and the People's Republic of China has helped a lot to my country, taking in account that Macedonia has a poor infrastructure and weak economy. The BRI can help a lot in those sectors, but to Huawei Telecom, I consider that everything which is contemporary and contributes into technology should continue exist, but under one condition, with not spreading propaganda, because you said that Huawei is rejected in some countries.
As we all know, tension between the US and China has been growing lately. North Macedonia very recently joined NATO back in March this year, after Greece removed its veto for it to join the US-led military organization. If the US were to go to war with China, which side would people in North Macedonia be more likely to side with?
We are a NATO member. If we take a look from one point of view, it's normal that we'll take part of NATO, but knowing my people, knowing my nation, we are peaceful people. I think that we would rather stay neutral regarding that aspect, because we have very good relations with both sides, with China and the US.
That's good news to hear, because I also believe in peace, and I actually hope that both the US and China can resolve their differences rather than resorting to military conflicts. Right. So Western countries like the US has often been accused of frequently intervening into other countries' domestic affairs. Do you think it is justified for countries to intervene into other countries in the name of democracy and human rights?
Any interference in the name of democracy and human rights can result with anarchy, as we all know, with a civil war, with riots. Yeah, I can agree with many people in my country. There was an attempt to interfere into our internal politics. I know how it feels and what has happened back then, and I can tell it's not good at all.
I also think that it is not a positive thing for countries to intervene into any other one, regardless of which one it is. Like even China, I wouldn't hope that China would go and intervene into domestic affairs of any other country.
Yeah.
Right. Before North Macedonia declared independence in 1991, it used to be part of Yugoslavia. So do people in your country prefer to live under Yugoslavia, or do they enjoy the current life a bit more?
What I've heard from the elderly people, they say that in time of Yugoslavia, life was good. But we, the young generation, didn't have the opportunity to experience that life under Yugoslavia. We are under impression from what we hear from elderly ones. But I think that most of the Macedonians would agree with me. Nowadays, we prefer the current life.
North Macedonia is a candidate country to join the European Union. So how do your people think about this potential accession into the EU? Do they think it's beneficial or actually harmful to your country?
People here have divided attitudes, so some of them regard it harmful, some of them regard it beneficial. The young generation, my generation, consider it as perspective.
So do you think it can actually bring economic benefits to your country?
Yeah, not only economic, but also cultural and change of mentality.
But there are also actually some concerns, just like a devil's advocate. For example, joining the EU, it would be a loss of sovereignty for a country because you have to submit yourself like to the European court, which you might have very little influence over. Is this sentiment shared in your country?
The changes that the European Union might bring here will be regarded from the people that have progressive mentality. They will be accepted, the changes, but from the people that live back in the 15th century, I don't think that they will accept it that easy, because especially the ones that have nationalism inside of them.
I see. I wish your country all the best. So North Macedonia is not very well known among our viewers. Please briefly introduce the culture and also like the mentality and other major aspects of your country to our audience.
North Macedonia is a small country, but rich in culture. Its official language is the Macedonian language, although we have as official language the Albanian, because apparently we have 25% of Albanian population here. We have a rich heritage regarding art, architecture, poetry, music. Not to forget to mention the city of Ohrid, which is under UNESCO's protection, and it's considered a heritage. It's known as the Balkans Jerusalem because of the big number of churches and monasteries. Also the Ohrid Lake, which is one of the oldest in Europe. Here, the main religion, the predominant one, is the Orthodox religion. The dishes, meat and dairy products are predominant. And from the beverages, wine and beer. What's to the culture? I can talk about the Ohrid summer nights, where opera singers, actors from all over the world gather every year, and also the Struga poetry evenings that take place in the city of Struga, where poets from more than 50 countries or so in the world gather traditionally every year.
I do actually recommend all of you to go and visit North Macedonia one day, like I have done. And yeah, you'll find yourself pretty much amazed with the nature and also country. So one final question here. Apart from Greece, North Macedonia also has some tensions with other neighbors like Serbia, Albania, and also Bulgaria. The only major ally, perhaps, is Turkey, which is near your country. Given these hostile surroundings and all these uncertain events, how do you see the future of your country in the next few years?
Personally, I consider that there are no obstacles that cannot be surpassed. So I believe that everything can be solved with good negotiation, with clarifying certain questions, and achieving, of course, a common compromise. In the next few years, I would like to see my country as a proud and prospective 28th country member of the European Union.
Right, so this is the end of our North Macedonia episode. Again, a big blagodarim to Isabella for coming onto our show. It's really a great pleasure to have you on.
Yes, yeah.
Do viduvanja, which is goodbye, and see you in the next episode.
Bye.